Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Three tips here. And what I've got in this beaker is about a little over 2 ounces of pure gold that was quartered with silver. And I've done 4 nitric acid boils on this to pull all the silver and base metals out. We start out with 95 grams of 14K, 35.6 grams of 10K. And I'm expecting a yield of about 70.1 grams of pure gold. So I'm going to put the gold, a little over 2 tray ounces, back in this big beaker. Now we're going to add some nitric acid here and do a 5th nitric acid boil on this quartered gold. Just crank it up and do a 5th nitric acid boil here. This 5th nitric acid boil's been on for about half an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to pour it off into a bottle and save it. This nitric acid can be used in a future video. Just look at the color of that pure gold in there after this 5th nitric acid boil. Higher purity. I can tell that by the color of it. Got all that nitric poured off, and this is what the gold looks like down in our beaker. Looking really good. Now that I've removed all the silver and base metals out of our gold, so I'm going to add about 250 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. And you can see there's an immediate reaction. And that's from the residual nitric that's in there with the gold. I'm going to set this up on our heat now. As usual, I'll add a few drops, maybe half a milliliter here of sulfuric acid. What this will do is that'll precipitate out any lead that may be present. Now we'll add a few squirts of nitric acid. I got just over 2.5 troy ounces in here. So I'm thinking about 5 3 milliliter shots of nitric acid should do the trick for us. This has been on the heat for about 25 minutes now. I think what we'll do here is I'm going to add another shot of hydrochloric acid, maybe about 50 or 60 milliliters. And then we're going to add to this some nitric acid, about 3 milliliters of that. And we're going to pour this in and see if we can get this reaction reinvigorated. Here we go. We're going to pour this right on in now. There we go. That's what we needed, some fresh acids in there. It's looking much better now. That should do it. Just a few more minutes on the heat here and we should have this all dissolved. I think we've got everything to go in solution now. We got a little bit of material left on the bottom, but I don't think that's gold. So we're going to pull this down now and let it cool off. I'm adding a few ice cubes, help cool the solution off, and to precipitate out any silver chloride that may be present. I'm going to add a filter paper, and we're going to filter this out now. We got some junk in the filter, and our solution is still fairly cloudy. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put this filter on a clean flask and run it back through the same filter a second time. See how cloudy that is? If we pour this back through the filter a second time, now that this filter's loaded up, we should be able to get it to clear up fairly well for us. You can see here that the filtrate is much clearer now that we've passed it through the filter a second time. Here's our original solution. You can tell it's much cloudier than what we've got down in here. The suspended solids in here is probably silver chloride, and when we passed it through the filter the first time, it clogs that filter up, reduces the pore size in the filter, and then more of the suspended silver chloride can get filtered out in that clogged up filter, and so that's why we get a cleaner solution when we pour it through the same filter a second time. Here's all the junk that's in our filter. Most of it's probably silver chloride. Here you can see our solution cleared up nicely for us. Now what we're going to do is transfer it into this big beaker. I've got a little over 2 ounces of gold in here, so whenever I have that much, 2 ounces or greater, I add a few ice cubes to keep it cool during the precipitation. I'll be using SMB to precipitate out the pure gold. Let's get set up here so we can see the precipitation. Now we're going to add some SMB right on into the beaker. Here we go. First spoon going in. I'm going to add a second spoon of SMB. Like I said, I've got about 70 grams of pure gold in this solution. I add one more for a total of 4. That should do it. Just look at that pretty orange powder down on the bottom down there. That's our pure gold settling out. Looks beautiful. Looks high purity. All of our gold precipitated out. As you can see by that negative Stannis test, all the gold has dropped. Now we're just going to let this sit and settle out and go from here. I've allowed this to settle for about a half an hour. And now what we're going to do is pour this off into a waste container. We're going to get our pure gold out of here. Here's a look at our pure gold down in the bottom of the beaker. I'm going to start out by giving this a quick rinse with some distilled water. These distilled water rinses will get most of the SMB that's in here rinsed off of our gold. Now I'll do a rinse with some hydrochloric acid. Another water rinse. Add some hydrochloric acid, about 200 milliliters. I'm going to set this up on the heat and give this a quick boil in hydrochloric acid. Looks like we still got plenty of gold in our beaker. I'm going to add a little bit more nitric acid. Do it slow because this is going to be hot. It's going to want to kick up and react fairly vigorously. This took about 30 minutes and about 30 milliliters of nitric acid to get it to all go into solution. Take it down, let it cool off now. Adding some ice cubes to help cool the solution down. These ice cubes are made with distilled water. We've got almost 0 solids that needed to be filtered out of our solution here. Here we go. Let's get set up for this precipitation. This will be the second precipitation with the SMB. I'm going to go ahead and add a spoon of it right on in. Here we go. First spoon going in right now. Boom. Second spoon. And I think one more should do it. 3 spoons total. I still see a little yellow in there. Let me add one more spoon of SMB. Do a quick status test here, make sure we've got everything precipitated out. And there you can see all the gold has been precipitated out of our solution. Just feast your eyes on that pretty caramel brown gold powder. What we're going to do now is I'm going to pour this waste solution off into my waste container, and then what we'll do is we'll get the gold into a melt dish and melt it up into a bar. I'm going to do multiple distilled water and hydrochloric acid rinses, but I'm going to do them off camera. I've rinsed the gold off multiple times with hydrochloric acid and water. So now we're going to get it down into this melt dish carefully. Alright, let's get our gold and put it over here on the melt table. Now what we'll do is melt this up to a nice bar. Here's our bright shiny bar of pure gold. This one has an exceptional shine on it. And I was expecting 70.1 grams. We got 68.6, so we're shy a couple grams. That's quite all right. That's fairly close to the expected yield. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Memorial Day Pure Gold Bar Refining. Thank you for watching.